The Pesky Report is sponsored by High and Happy Catering out of Springfield, Massachusetts. Their chef, Michael Best, can cook anything you want with or without being infused with cannabis. Check out some of what they make on their Instagram at High and Happy Catering or call them at 413-785-8999. You'll be happy you did.
Welcome to the Pesky Report, a podcast for Red Sox fans.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 153 of the Pesky Report. My name is Brandon Brewer. You know me, you know Ed, you know Hogdale. We're here to talk about the Boston Red Sox and the collapse that has happened right before the All-Star game when they still have not won a single series against an American League East opponent. I cannot believe that we are halfway through the season and are winless against American League East. That sucks. Guys, what's going on? How's your day? I know it's been kind of a down one for all of us.
Oh, not for me. Not for me. I was in Portland today. I got to see the Sea Dogs have a 12-11 walk-off win. Thank you, friend of the Pesky Report, Cole Cottom, walk-off double, two-run double bottom of the ninth inning after they blew a 9-3 lead. But they came back. That's what's important. Yeah, and he signed a baseball card for my girlfriend's little 5-year-old cousin, who's just really getting into baseball now and wants to be a catcher. So that was pretty nice. Cool guy who he was too shy to take a picture with him. So hopefully next time we'll be able to do that. But getting the guy who hit the walk-off hit to sign your baseball card at the game that we're at for his birthday is pretty cool.
That is cool. That's much better than what I saw on Baseball Front today. Hogdale, what's up?
Yeah, man, I'm doing really good. Not a big fan of the baseball that's being played right now, but my life is good, so that's nice.
Yeah, no, that is a plus, very much so. Before we get into anything, you talked about a friend of the show hitting the walk-off homer. A lot of friends of the Pesky Report have been doing quite well lately, so it's almost like the Pesky Report bump is a real thing.
It does feel that way lately. Zach Kelly's the closer for the AAA Woo Sox now. I think one of two guys who could get called up next as far as relievers go if they need help, which it seems like they do. Brian Van Bell was our Sox Prospects Pitcher of the Week last week after throwing, it was on 75 pitches or something like that, 7 shutout innings. He's been really doing a good job since he got to Double-A, and Nick Sogard got brought up to Triple-A. Driven in a bunch of runs. He's hitting over 300 there now. So I'm just throwing it out there. You come on the Pesky Report, your numbers are going to improve. Who I actually saw earlier this week was Ryan Brady, our friend. I drove down to Hudson Valley to see Greenville and Hudson Valley play. So that's the Red Sox system and the Yankee system. High A. Got to see Nico Cavadas, who's been on an absolute tear, hit a home run. It was a lot of fun, and we actually think we might have we met one of the players after the game, and we think we might have our next minor league player guest, because he and Brady seem to have really hit it off. So it was a good week.
Very nice. Yeah, good to see that Brady's still out there working and doing his thing for the show.
Yeah, the big surprise for me is that he's 18 feet tall. He's tall and in good shape, and I didn't expect. Not that I was oh, he's probably like 5'6" or something like that, and you just never know with people. And I just thought
Sure.
he looks like a former hockey player, and which I guess he is. So that was sort of my takeaway was oh, okay, you're good at sports, aren't you?
Can you confirm something something for me because I'm always curious like how Ryan Brady gets around because I imagine it's really hard for him just to lug his dick around because it's just like dragging around near his ankles. Like, how does he get around?
It was a little weird. He had like when we got to the stadium, he had some kid like with like a wheelbarrow that he was like keeping it in and kneeling it, but they wouldn't let him bring the wheelbarrow past security, so it took a little while.
Wow.
It seemed like it worked out fine, but like it was a little awkward getting through the metal detectors. Like I'm not going to pretend it wasn't.
I'm picturing Randy from South Park just pushing his big nuts around in the wheelbarrow.
Yeah, it was a little like that to answer your question. No, Brady's great. It was like we were literally talking baseball for like all like 9 straight innings. It was really cool. Like he's very knowledgeable of like everything baseball wise. Like you know how like there are some Red Sox fans that you talk to and they really only know what's going on in Boston. Brady's like it seems like he knew every player on every team, which is just always fun to talk about.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Talk about stuff with someone like that.
Yeah, that is awesome. It's very rare. I have a friend that's actually a Yankees fan, and it's fun whenever he and I get to sit down and just talk baseball because he's a Yankees fan. He's grown up a Yankees fan. I'm a Red Sox fan. So we have that like built-in hatred for one another. But then whenever we just sit down and talk just pure sports baseball, it's like, wow, we could talk for hours. Talking about the Johnson City Cardinals, like which is a St. Louis Cardinals affiliate, or we could talk about the Kansas City Royals and their affiliates and stuff like that for hours. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean it's baseball. That's at the end of the day, it's all baseball.
I mean, that's the ticket of like really truly enjoying the sport is when you find another person like where like you start talking with them like, oh shit, this guy knows what he's talking about. And like, it's like, oh shit, 2 hours have gotten by. I've been talking to this man for 2 hours. It's just fucking gone.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it was a great game. They won 9-1. Cavadas homered. Nick Northcutt homered. Big Joe Davis got a single on a ball that the bat shattered and flew into the stands. That was cool.
Whoa.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
We got a dangerous souvenir there, but yeah, no, it was. If you get the chance to go see the Hudson Valley Renegades play, I know it's a Yankee system, but it's really just a nice stadium. Really nice people running it. They do a very good job, and that's always like minor league baseball's great. Give them your money.
Right atmosphere.
My Yankees friend that I was telling you guys about, I was talking to him earlier today during the game. We always open up a text communication during Red Sox Yankees games just to kind of talk smack back and forth, but I was telling him specifically about Jarren Duran. I was like, I like Duran. He's fun, and I was telling him a story about when I saw him when they played with the Woo Sox in Jacksonville, Florida. And in the first inning, he hit a sharp single, tried to leg it out to a double, and got thrown out at second base. And there was some Jumbo Shrimp fans in the stands who were like, "Oh, you got to be faster than that! You got to be faster than that!" And as he was walking back to the dugout, he was like, "Okay, watch this. Bet, just watch this." And then the next time he got up, he walked. And then on the very next pitch, he stole second base and then turned and then waved at the fans.
That's amazing.
That's the type of stuff that you only see in minor league games. In major
awesome.
leagues, they don't care about what the fans are saying, but in minor leagues, they'll interact with you, and it's a lot of fun.
That is fantastic. Yeah, I actually the game that I was at today with Portland, I was like so my girlfriend comes from like a pretty big like Irish Catholic family, and it was like 26 of them in the stands there today, and a bunch of them are little kids. And David Hamilton, one of the guys they got in the Hunter Renfroe trade, he gets like a base hit his first time up, and I turned to like one of like the 7-year-olds and go, he's gonna steal second, watch this. And like next pitch he takes off for second. And if you ever want to make yourself seem really cool to a bunch of 7-year-olds, just predict baseball plays that are pretty obvious before they happen. Because like he was going, everybody in the season knew he was going, and he stole 3 bases and now he has 40 on the season. So that was pretty cool to see. But yeah, no, like guys that are fast like that are just so much fun to watch.
It's the intangible element that you can't teach. Like you can't be taught be fast, and some guys have it and most guys don't.
Yeah. And it's not just being fast; it's like being able to read the pitches,
smart,
being able to have those instincts. Like Ricky Henderson just knew how, like, he was obviously fast, but he also knew how to time based on pitches and like if the guy was going to be checking on him or not. And it's like that talent set is just like, it's so just innate, I feel like.
Yeah, it's definitely rare and elite whenever it does happen. Let's move into a little bit about what did happen in this, obviously the series in the Bronx, the last little series before the All-Star game, where the Red Sox decided not to show up the last 2 games. They've already packed up and went on vacation. But today, we did have a shining moment for Jeter, who is a Yankee killer apparently, and he got his first home run and first double, so it's cool for him. But at the expense of Chris Sale and his pinky.
Yeah.
So that was not good. First inning, he only recorded 2 outs, gave up 3 runs, and what is being reported as a fractured pinky on his throwing hand. What do we think? Is this season ending, or will he be back at some point?
I was reading
honestly,
that it's going to be like. Oh, sorry. You can go
you
first
go
on this. I'm talking a lot as it is. So
I'm pretty much talking out of my ass here because it's like, fuck, I'm not a doctor. Like, yeah, the medical diagnosis. Yeah, dude, where it's like, we diagnosed him professionally with a fractured pinky. Like, dude, I could have fucking told you that. Really? A fractured pinky? Are you sure?
It looked like this as he was walking off the mound.
Bro, it's crooked. It looks like a dude who'd been like beaten the shit out of in a cartoon. Like, that's like as he's laying on the ground, like every part of his body. That's what his pinky looked like. So yeah. I mean, I don't know the medical timetable. All I know is like, dude, it's another thing. Like with Chris Sale, like everything but pitching for the Boston Red Sox. At least this one isn't his fault. Like, it's just a freak accident. Like, it's just, what are you gonna do? Like, just like the amount of bad luck that it takes. It's just like one of the worst contracts in Red Sox history. Like, it's so bad. Oh, that's gnarly. That's gnarly.
It is gnarly. For the listeners on the podcast, we're showing it on the screen right now, the pictures of Chris Sale's mangled pinky.
It does not.
Like, fuck, couldn't have been his non-throwing hand. Like, fuck me.
Well, that would have been off the glove. He probably would have caught it, which the way things were going today, which I didn't even watch it. I just was following because they have it in the park for the Sea Dogs, which is the name I'm just completely forgetting right now. They have like a scoreboard up for the Red Sox, like in right field. So I was just like following it. I was like, oh, hey, they're down 3-0. Oh, hey, it's the first inning and Sawamura's in. What the fuck just happened? Oh, hey, someone hit a home run. There, it's 2-3. This is great. Oh my God, it's 11-2. And this is just periodically going on like throughout it. I'm seeing like all the people sitting behind me react to it. It was kind of like by that point, but when it got to like 11-2 and it said Diekman in, I was like, oh yeah, I didn't need to watch this one. This is fine.
Yeah, it was one of those games that was really easy to turn off after a few innings. I stuck with it when Jeter hit the 2-run homer. I was like, okay, maybe this will be fine. Maybe it'll just be a really long bullpen day. That's okay. All-Star week is coming up, so they're going to have a break anyway. It'll be okay. We're fine. Get a couple more runs on the board, but then I think it was the 4th inning happened, and it was over at that point. So it was like, okay, I'm going to go play Legos.
Let me ask something. For first of all, really good choice on the Legos there.
Yeah, for sure.
That's always a good decision.
I built Slave One from Star Wars for those of you that
because like you can't say slave now in the name.
Yeah, now it's called Boba Fett Starship, which is lame.
It's very lazy naming. That's being like I named my car Hogdale's car. Like, I mean, if I did that, it would be cool.
Good choice.
Like Hogdale doing it, not really. But
right.
At what point do you guys turn a game off? Like, when are you going to be like, okay, enough is enough?
It's got to be like at least like a 7-run lead before I'm like, fuck this. Like,
and I think that's about what it was. It was like 7-2. The Yankees were still batting in the inning. They had runners on like 2nd and 3rd with 1 out. I was like, okay, I've seen enough. It's already been a bad day.
Yeah. For me,
I
it depends
turned the game off. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, for me, a lot of the time it's if they're after a certain point. Like if they give up 7 runs on the first inning, then you can kind of still sit around because it's like, oh well, let's see if the other team like gets complacent and they like can fight back, and then like they give up another 2 runs and then it can be that. But for me, a lot of the time, it also depends on what I'm doing later in the day. Like if I have something better to do, basically, I will do it. And if I don't, and they're down 14-0, well, maybe I'll get to see Jackie Bradley Jr. pitch again.
Yeah. Well, in my case,
Yeah.
my son was also like, "Dad, let's play with Legos." So it's like, okay, that's probably better than what I've got going on here. So
Yeah, no, Legos are always a firm choice.
Yeah, today I turned the game off. I think it was like bases loaded, Deacon was pitching, and it was like the Carpenter double. I'm like, okay, yeah, fuck this. I'm done. This sucks. I have anything else is better than watching the rest of this fucking game. I do not care. Clearly, they don't care. So I also do not give a single fuck.
Hogdale's like, wow, I think the grass is growing outside. I'm going to go watch that.
Ooh,
exactly, dude.
I can watch that dry.
So that being said, this series kind of sucked for all of us Red Sox fans. Of course, they did eke out the first game of the 3-game series, but the other 2 games were complete blowouts and were not fun at all. But now it is officially the All-Star break. Tomorrow will be the Home Run Derby, and then we have the All-Star game, and then a little bit of a break before the Toronto Blue Jays series. So hopefully that gives the Red Sox time to rest, get rejuvenated, and actually come out and make a strong push, because we only have a short amount of time until it's trade deadline time. And that's going to be, the make or break point of the season. Are we going to be buyers or are we going to be sellers? And I think that this time right now is going to tell us a lot in how the team is going to bounce back and be able to handle the rest of the season. So what are you guys looking forward to, first off, from the All-Star game?
My boy Freddie Freeman just got added to it just like a couple minutes ago. That's cool. I like seeing players that I enjoy watching there, like him. A lot of the pitchers I like didn't, because they all threw today or yesterday, or just don't want to hurt themselves, which I do not blame them. But like, not going to get to see Verlander pitch or anybody like that. But like that's going to be fun seeing Raffy there, seeing Xander Bogaerts and JD Martinez, all these guys getting on for the first time, and it might be their only time making the All-Star team. It's always pretty special to see. I love the Home Run Derby. Gonna watch that, and the softball game. Apparently, Brian Cranston got drilled by a line drive or something, and like had to be like helped off the field. So I don't know if they're going to show that or not.
I hope he's okay.
But,
Jesus.
Yeah, he's like he's 66. I didn't realize he was that old.
Yeah, dude, he's been around for a while.
Yeah, did you know that the Blue Power Ranger is named after Brian Cranston? The original Blue Power Ranger?
That's
did not
really
know that.
Funny.
Yeah, Brian Cranston was he like worked on it, and he did a lot of like voices and stuff like that for like the bad guys and that kind of thing. And
dude, what a character that Brian Cranston went on. Like, oh yeah, I provided voices for Power Rangers to I was the dad in Malcolm in the Middle to I was Walter White in Breaking Bad.
Oh, he had some stops between that. He was Seinfeld's dentist. He was he gets murdered in an episode of Murder, She Wrote. He's had a career.
I feel like that Power Rangers thing would be an excellent trivia question at some like sports bar trivia night.
Yeah, because you'd have to know that the Blue Power Ranger's name is Billy Cranston. And you would presumably also have to have a knowledge of all of the other Power Rangers names to know that it's not another one of them.
Yeah, which I would not know. I would be like, it's probably named after Yogi the Bear.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
The things the Red Sox
I did not know that.
To avoid talking about their team.
Yeah, but then you called us out on it, so it makes us have to talk about it.
Back to sadness and sorrow.
But you mentioned the Home Run Derby. I love the Home Run Derby as well. I think it's one of the premier events of any All-Star weekend. NBA, you've got the dunk contest that kind of steals the show. The 3-point shootout is pretty cool, but the All-Star game sucks. In the NFL, the Pro Bowl week, they have a few little events that are fun, but then the Pro Bowl game sucks. In baseball, All-Star weekend is pretty good all around. I love the home run derby, and I like the All-Star game. It's just a good, solid baseball game. And unlike a lot of the other All-Star games where they don't play defense and you don't really see any good plays, All-Star game in baseball is typically where you see the best defense, because you've got the best fielders, the best players on planet Earth, all on two teams, and they're out there just playing baseball, and it's good quality baseball. But that being said, the home run derby is a blast. Do you have a odds-on favorite for who's going to win?
Alonso. Like, did
Pete
you
Alonso,
watch last year or the year before that? He's like a human being designed just to win home run derbies.
He is a monster at the home run derby for sure. Hogdale, do you have anybody else that could be a dark horse?
I keep forgetting like who all's in it. I want Juan Soto to win because isn't he in it again?
I don't remember. I know Pujols.
Thing is, like, I don't know who the whole home run derby participants.
That's what I'm looking up too.
Yeah, I
know that. We thought he was going to be, but he isn't.
Yeah,
because that would have been awesome.
Julio Rodriguez is in it.
Schwarbs.
Yeah, Schwarbs is in it.
Juan Soto is in it.
Who is?
I'm picking Juan Soto.
Okay, he is in it then. He wants revenge for last year.
Because he likes
fun. In it.
Unlike these other fucking assholes like in the league, these players who just don't want to participate. Juan Soto likes fun.
Yeah. I mean, oh my God, him versus Shohei last year was friggin' awesome. And I was rooting for Shohei, and I didn't even like feel like I got gypped because it went into like double overtime or whatever.
Let's see the matchups that they have. Kyle Schwarber and Albert Pujols in the first round. Albert Pujols is just kind of that feel-good story. You know, he's on his last little run, so it's like whatever. But I don't think he really has a shot unless everybody else just lays their bat down for him. Juan Soto and Jose Ramirez, that could be a pretty good battle. Corey Seager and Julio Rodriguez, and then Pete Alonso and Ronald Acuna Jr. That'll be a fun one, but Pete Alonso looks like he is the head and shoulders favorite going into this one. It'll be a lot of fun to watch, though. It always is. It's a spectacle. And then, the All-Star game will be a lot of fun. Like you said, it's going to be cool to see Rafi and Xander and JD on those guys out there. But it's always cool whenever you get to see like all the All-Stars come together and just all the best players. I like being able to picture a lineup. It's like the old lineup that you would have on the video game that you would stack the team for yourself to have like all the All-Stars on your team. And you just like go 162-0 in the season because you have all of the best players on your team. That's basically what this is, and it's a beautiful thing. After the All-Star game, it will be time to get back to reality, though, and get back to what are the Red Sox going to do? Obviously, we know that with Chris Sale now most likely going to be on another extended IL stint, the glaring hole is going to be pitching for the Red Sox going forward. And what are they going to be able to do to cover their bases, if you will, and be able to plug somebody in there for the remainder of the season if they're going to make any chance of a wild card push at all?
I'm not sure what the general consensus has been. I have zero concerns about Sale being hurt, though, and the reason is because they haven't really had him at this point before the season started.
Yeah,
they were doing
this was only his.
Him. It's not to say that Chris Sale being on the team isn't valuable. It's not to say that him getting hurt in a freak accident doesn't hurt. But in the grand scheme of things, they were getting a bunch of pitchers back anyway, and a bunch of starters were going to be moving to the bullpen. So what does this mean? Well, Probably Crawford stays in the rotation a little longer, or Winkowski. Both of them have done perfectly fine in the role. Eovaldi's back now. There's still Pavetta there, who's been struggling lately, but is there nonetheless. Paxton and Waka and Hill will all be coming back at some point. So is it frustrating? Sure. But it's not anything that's like totally brand new either. They've been doing this all year. And if he can come back, great. And if not, he better have a really intense workout plan during the summer or something, because he's got to earn that money next year. He seems like the kind of guy who doesn't like getting paid for doing nothing, or doesn't like being on the bench. So I'm hopeful that he'll be motivated.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. The Red Sox have done it without him thus far this year. This was only his second outing of the entire season, so it's not like it's a guy that had been your primary guy that's won 10 out of 12 games that he's played or whatever it is. He hasn't really been an impact on the season, so it's not like you're losing anything that's done a lot for you. But this was one of those guys that, in my opinion, that bringing Sale back and having him as kind of like the anchor of the rotation, that was what was going to open up the trade moves to be able to fill in those holes that are in the bullpen. Now going forward, if you're going to make a big splash, it's almost like you have to do a little bit of both. You have to take a lesser quality starting pitcher so that you can get that starter plus somebody to still plug in those holes in the bullpen, instead of just getting the best bullpen arms that you can think of. I don't know. I think it does hurt in that kind of scenario, because we were all kind of depending on Chris Sale's return as being an additional trade that we didn't have to make.
Yeah. Because Paxton is still a ways away, and
there's still so many question marks around him. Yeah,
exactly. It's certainly not ideal. I'm curious how Hogdale feels this is going to affect the team.
So the thing is, right, like looking at like how the Red Sox are viewing the trade deadline, or even on the grander scale, how the front office viewed this year, like going into it. I had a theory going into the year after the offseason that they don't see this as a year where they need to go all in. This is kind of like a filler year before, like within the next before the next 2 or 3 years, we're like, this will be our all-in window. To me, this is kind of like a year where like we're going to be competitive, and if we get lucky, or if we go on, a hot streak, we'll take a World Series appearance, or maybe a somewhat of a deep playoff run, which is what happened last year, really. I mean, when we think about it. And like that mindset from the front office, it's valid, because I see that he's clearly planning for the future. He has something cooking. He's got a plan. At the same time, like looking at the team, are they worth spending anything at the trade deadline for this year? Are they really? Because I mean, I've watched this team the whole year, and what we've had is one extremely good month, one mediocre month, one dog shit month, and another really bad month. That's what we've had so far. And like, there's like, I hate being the guy that comes down and is like, they don't have the dog in them, and like the vibes are off. But genuinely, just the vibes feel off with this team this year. Like last year, like that team, like I felt like they had something. They had like this inner like clutch, and like they could go toe to toe, and they were going to battle. This team this year, it's so many points. Like they're just so blatantly unclutch, and like they aren't winning games they should be winning. Obviously 15 blown saves, not great. And like, do you really want to spend assets on this team? Like, do you really want to mortgage future for this Red Sox team? Are you sure? Like, are we really going to shell prospects to get Josh Bell when we have Cassis coming up in a year or a year and a half? No. Are we really going to do that? No. Like, let's get real. Are we really going to show the premium prospect needed to get the best reliever on the market for this specific Red Sox team? No. Like, And it's kind of a crushing realization because obviously you want your team to win every year. I don't think they're good enough. I just don't think they're good enough. Like, I don't know how you guys feel, but I've come to that thought process recently. I just do not think that they're good enough. So
I think that you articulated that really well. And I think that that's the feeling for a lot of fans right now. I have my own thoughts on what I think this deadline is going to look like. Brandon, should I do that now, or do you
go for it?
I think that we're going to be people, you see them asking, is this going to be about, are the Red Sox going to be buyers or sellers? And I think the answer is actually both. I think where it makes sense, they're going to invest in this team because, just for instance, if they don't think this year is the team, but if they think next year, we don't have to trade for a guy that's out of here after one season. It might cost more, but if there's a guy who has 2 or 3 years left on his contract and it's going to help out next year too, we could see a move like that made. Or even if it's just like prospects to shore up like a different part that's like a little weaker, like we don't have too many righty relievers. Maybe they move Big Fudge or Josh Taylor or someone like that to get some more help for the righties. I think that it's not as simple though as just being buyers or sellers. I don't want to say that I don't think they're good enough just because of how random it seems like it is. I just think that this team is a lot like last year's team, just with more injuries. Where they were very streaky last year, but the thing was that they stayed healthy for most of the season. You weren't really seeing guys go down for long term. Like even like looking at key cogs from last year, they haven't had Kike Hernandez. Even if he wasn't hitting super well, he provided a lot of stability for the team. Just with his defense, the fact that he can play so many positions, he'd be very valuable right now with Story out. Oh yeah, Story got hurt. I don't think they lost Raffy, Xander, JD for any extended periods last year. So, that's another.
Which you could say though, like that's like a rare instance of extremely good injury luck, and like this is the regression to the mean. We're getting the injuries that teams usually deal with. Yeah, exactly. It's a bit more on the extreme end, especially on the pitching side. But like the Rays have 15 guys on the IL right now.
You know what's weird though with these Red Sox injuries? None of them are like season enders or even like super long absences. It's really weird because it's just like Waka, Hill, Eovaldi, and and who is the other guy? Not Pavetta. They have a fourth guy that's hurt though. Whitlock. They all got hurt for like 4 or 5 weeks at the same time, which is weird.
It's all a lot of ticky tack, a lot of week here, week there.
Yeah,
some few weeks.
Who just got hurt? Story and Strom both went on the IL for getting hit by like line drive or like pitches, and neither of them. It's no breaks for either of them, which is great, but still IL trips. It's just like it's just frustrating luck.
Yeah, that's a good point. The injuries have been definitely detrimental to the overall team's success. And it sucks because, with the injuries of the rotation, that means you have to pull up, minor league guys that aren't really ready for the show yet. And then they come up and they've done what they've done. And injuries to the bullpen has meant that more guys are being taxed for more innings and they're overworked. Guys are being shuffled around. Like we've had Christian Vasquez playing field positions. We've had Franchi playing all over the place. We've had Dahlbeck playing first and third. We've had people just bouncing around all over the place just to fill out a roster.
Yeah, Connor Wong was at second base twice in this Yankee series he got put in. Connor Wong is also a catcher by trade, so that it's not something. I mean, he did it a little bit in the minors, but he's a catcher. He's not going to be a second baseman moving forward.
Can I just say though, like a lot of people are gonna get angry like at potentially this team's like lack of playoff success this year, and I think a lot of Red Sox fans or Boston sports fans in general, take a look inside for a second. It's really hard for us to see the forest from the trees sometimes because we expect and demand success every year because for the last 20 years, that's pretty much all we've gotten is a team winning and winning big. And I just got to say, like, what Chaim is modeling after is not the Rays. It's always been the Dodgers. Like, he's modeling after the Dodgers. And what the Dodgers did for years, and like the Dodgers got shit on for this, is that they took on bad contracts, got prospects while also being competitive. Like the Dodgers weren't winning a World Series or going to a World Series every single year for a good period, before they got super, super successful. They had a period where they were competitive and they, took on bad contracts and were just trying to build the farm system. That's the stage we are in right now. Now, Juan Soto just got put up on the trade block. Who is the one team that, above all others, he's probably going to go to? It's the Dodgers. Why? Because they have everything. They have all the resources. They have the prospects, and they have infinite money. The Red Sox are trying to get to the point where, we have the infinite money, but we also need the prospects to go along with it so we can do whatever the hell we want. We're like, one of our aces is a piece of shit, and he's going to be gone for a long time. We're just going to go trade for another one and then also trade for a top 5 shortstop also because we can.
And the free agents pickups they've made have gone really well, too. Like Tyler Anderson being an all-star this year. Who saw that one coming?
They pull dudes out of their developmental system, or they scout extremely well in free agency. Chaim, he's trying to make the Red Sox the Dodgers. We're in the early stages of the Dodger development where we're kind of just accruing and not spending the big money, not getting over the luxury tax, and we're building up prospects. But eventually, when we do get to that window in a year or two, you're going to be fucking wowed at the flexibility of what Chaim will be able to do, of just the insane bullshit that he'll be able to pull off. Because genuinely, look at the Dodgers' moves the last 2 years. They do whatever they want because they can.
Well, let me ask you something, Hogdale. What do you respond to people that accuse you of being part of the Illuminati? What do you say for saying that you trust this plan that this GM has, but he hasn't won anything yet? Oh no, he's not. He's trying to make things Tampa North. What do you say to those guys?
I don't know. I really think long-term sustained success shouldn't be overlooked. And being Tampa in one way would be a bad thing if they refuse to spend money, but we know from this ownership's history, and that's what a lot of people neglect, the Red Sox went 10 years where they blew past the luxury cap threshold. This ownership group is willing to spend when they think it warrants it. They've gotten to the point now where they want to be smart with it and build long-term success. I'd say look at a different sport example, the Colorado Avalanche. For years, they built this team up and they're they're just trying to be Detroit, or they're trying to be the Lightning. And well, yeah, because they're successful teams, and for a few years they failed. They didn't win. But finally this year they got over the hump and they are set for sustained success for the next 5 to 6 years. And the Bluminati, dude, please. I criticize a fuck ton of Chaim's moves. I've been starting to get on the drum with Brady about banging that they should have gotten another fucking reliever. They should have gotten a better closer. Any of the relievers from this last free agency class would have been fine. I'd have to look over the past few years. I'm pretty sure I didn't love the Kike signing when we got him. I probably thought it was meh. Most of his signings I probably thought were meh. I think he's a smart guy. And I think over the next few years, we're going to get the fruits of it. And if it doesn't work out, then fucking fire him. But
yeah, I think that I actually completely agree that you can criticize moves that they make without thinking that they have to be fired immediately or something like that. That you can say, okay, this wasn't great for this year and that's frustrating, but I do see that there's a bigger picture to it, and that
this thing is people aren't acknowledging there is a bigger picture. They're just taking it year by year, which is what we do with a lot of our other sports teams, because again, Boston sports, it's different than any other market. We've experienced success every other year. A team wins a championship. over the last 20 years. Like, if you haven't won a championship within the last 5 years, you're a fucking bum and no one cares about you. You stink. Like, that's what being a Boston sports fan is like. And, like, I'm just saying, guys.
I'll take it a step farther. Even if you did win a championship last year, if you're not winning it again this year, you're still a bum.
Exactly. Dude, like, it's tough. Just know, like, this year is frustrating, and I think they could have done some things better to compete this year. But you got to keep in the back of your mind there is a greater, bigger picture over the next few years. There's a plan, and that's something to take comfort in. You know, again, I want to see my team win every year. Obviously, it's frustrating watching the team this year and like thinking that even if they make it into the playoffs, they're destined to lose in the divisional round. Like, it's rough.
Yeah.
Can I just say that some of the talk with this, they're 48 and 45. If you had told me that after May they were going to be 3 games above 500 at this point, I'd be shocked.
Yeah, based on the start of the season. Yeah. It was rough. It was rough sledding there for a bit.
It has been a rough go of things, but I think Hogdale makes a lot of good points, and I think you know, as a longtime Red Sox fan, I have grown accustomed to watching winning teams. You know, I started the show earlier today talking about my Yankees fan, and he was like, man, it's been since 2009 since we've had a championship team. Every year they flirt with a good team and then they just fall apart. And I was telling him, I was like, dude, I don't feel sorry for you. As a Red Sox fan, we went 86 years without a championship. Sure, I wasn't alive for all 86 of those, but I remember having that team that's just not quite good enough. I remember having that team that always got the silver medal. Breaking news right now, the Red Sox draft pick is in, and they picked up, I guess it's Mikey Romero, shortstop out of Orange Lutheran High School in California. 18-year-old.
So what you're saying is Meyer is on the trade block, and we're trading for Soto. Good deal. All right, we move.
Really picking the most athletic. Probably this. Okay, so he was an LSU commit. So he's a high school player, but he was an LSU commit. LSU does a very good job with their players. So that's interesting. I don't see him like on any prediction list, but I also don't know where to find like mock drafts. So I should go find.
I'm not in touch with the high school scene either.
Yeah, like, but that's 3 in a row now.
That's interesting that he would take that Heim would take another shortstop with Meyer already you know, the heir apparent shortstop, and then plus if you're trying to keep Xander for another long-term contract, it makes no sense why you would get another shortstop here, but it is what it is.
That's what I'm saying. Meyer could bum, trade him for Soto. Let's go.
I think a lot of the time early when on in a player's career, the most athletic guy on the team is shortstop, and then they move position somewhere else. Like, for instance, you know who started their career as a shortstop? Mariano Rivera. Adam Jones was a shortstop to start his career, ended up in center field. You see that a lot where, like, Cedon Rafael has been moved out to center field, but he came up as shortstop, and he's still considered a good glove there. Generally speaking, if you can play shortstop well, you can play anywhere. I mean, except catcher.
If you have talent, they'll find you a spot to play. Yeah. If you're not good at your original.
Because, like, if you look at the like the Salem roster right now, there are like 4 shortstops on that team. Because there's Mayer, who's obviously getting the most of the playing time there, but like Briner, Bonacci, Edinson, Polito both came up shortstops as well. So, you know, and they'll find spaces for them.
Let's not forget that Trevor Story also was a shortstop in his big league career, and now he's a Gold Glove second baseman. So.
Probably the best defensive second baseman in the league.
Like, I didn't say Gold Glove as, you know, just kind of like a slight or you know, a joke or anything. Like, I sincerely think that he is going to be the Gold Glove second baseman in the American League this year.
Like, I need to look at the defensive run saved leaderboard, but he's had an unreal year defensively at second base, which is you know, masked his like 98 OPS plus, which we wish could be better.
He's like this whole, he's been symbolic of this whole offense. When he is going well, the team is doing well. And when he's not going well, it's a big problem because you have a huge back gap in the lineup.
That's a good point. Good point.
He's got 8 defensive runs saved already.
With everything being said, Hogdale making some very good points, and Ed also making some good points about the potential future of the Boston Red Sox going into this trade deadline. I agree that, buyers or sellers, probably a little bit both. Who do you sell on and who are you buying? And what I mean by that is, if you're going to sell any of the big names that are in the organization, are you trying to buy with a good prospect package, or are you trying to go out and land the whale Juan Soto and in your buying?
Okay, so let's get the Soto conversation out of the way first, because it's going to eat up the most
Not
time.
happening. It's not happening.
At least at this trade deadline.
Soto's not good.
At least I don't even think he's going to get moved this deadline. I think it'll be an off-season move, because the price is going to be astronomical, because they're still having 2 years left to control before his contract, which, by the way, you can give up whatever the fuck you want and it would be worth it for Juan Soto. The only person or people that are comparable to Juan Soto in terms of batting numbers at his age are Ted Williams and Mike Trout. So if you could get Ted Williams at age 23, is there a trade package that is too heavy for him? Ask yourself that question. And if your answer is yes, there is, I don't know, man. Give me the crack that you're on, because it's really, really effective.
Yeah,
it's probably not happening this deadline.
It's just that it's difficult to say, like, oh, I'm going to put all of my resources into this one player, but then you think about how many top prospects miss or are mediocre, or even just all-stars that aren't like a true franchise player. That is a true blue. You can make the case he's the best hitter of his generation already, at least right now. Like, when you look at his contemporaries, I think as far, like when you look at Acuna, Guerrero Jr., I still think that you say that the best overall bat is Soto, even if Acuna can do a little bit more.
Like, putting into context, this is a down. Right now, he's having a down year. Juan Soto's having a down year. So this is let me give you context of what his floor is as a hitter. He currently is getting on base at a 406 clip in a down year. OPS plus of 160. Again, that's his floor. His floor, which his ceiling is an OPS plus of like 220. So that's more than 2 times better than the average hitter.
That's sick.
That's the kind of guy you're talking about here. Half as good as Juan Soto, even if they hit their potential? Probably not. Say Marcelo Meyer becomes a perennial all-star. He still wouldn't be half of Juan Soto.
Yeah,
that's just a
good
fact.
Point. Juan Soto is definitely the whale that's on the block at this deadline, but like you said, I don't think he's really going to be going anywhere. And if he does, it's going to be going somewhere other than the Boston Red Sox. I don't think Chaim Bloom pulls the trigger on that right now, because the reason I say that is because you're not going to trade the farm on a guy unless you're pretty well guaranteed that he's going to be there long term. And if you're not willing to pay him $440 million plus, then you're not going to do that. And the Red Sox won't pay him $440 million plus also pay Rafi and Xander. So
one thing that makes the Soto situation a bit weird, though, is because people don't really talk about this, because we like to pretend that baseball is a fair and fun league where every team wants to actually acquire good players and pay them money, when simply that's not the case. And that, truthfully, and this happened with Mookie too, where his return wasn't really what it should be for the caliber of player he was at the time he was dealt. Truthfully, there are like 5 teams in the league that can like realistically acquire Juan Soto and pay him, and also have the prospects to do it. Like, really, it's the Red Sox, it's the Yankees, it's the Mets, it's the Dodgers, and one of like the Cubs or the Astros, but the Astros are cheap asses who don't like paying players. So really it's just the Cubs. So it's like one of those 5 teams. So truthfully, if the Nationals can get a bidding war between those 5, you can drive the price way up. But if it turns out maybe only like the Dodgers and Red Sox say like want to do it, the prospect package ain't going to be as ridiculous as it should be, like, frankly, for a player of the caliber of Juan Soto. So it's a bit weird because, yeah, he's going to command easily over $500 million guaranteed. Genuinely, he's going to get 35 million AAV minimum. He could easily get 40.
It's pretty interesting what you said about trying to drive up a bidding war there, because you're assuming that these teams are going to have the same objective with him, when the reality might be that they're trying to get more. They might see it as, well, we can only pay. Would I rather have one top 5 player or 2 top 20 players and split the money around? So I don't know. Or would I rather do my old homegrown players instead of trying to outsource? And see how good these guys are. Because I do think, at least in the case of the Red Sox, I think that they do think that Mayer is like this generational talent that could be get a similar type of deal. So do you want to throw all of your resources at that guy, or do you want to try to grow a few of them? I think that's what the question is.
Oh yeah, and also at this deadline, I just don't think the deal's going to get done in general with any team. None of them. This is an offseason.
Not enough time. Not enough time to get that deal done. And to your point about the 5 teams, I think you can scratch the Yankees off of that list, because I don't think the Yankees, in order to land a Soto, I think that would also put the final nail in the coffin of one Aaron Judge. And I don't think that the Yankees are going to give up on Judge to get Soto, if that makes any sense.
Honestly,
they're not going to get
if
both.
If you were ruthless as a GM and say we could only have one or the other, you should take Soto.
I agree.
And Aaron Judge, phenomenal player. He's the heart of that New York team. He isn't Juan Soto. He isn't. It's not hyperbole to say Juan Soto is a once in a generation hitter. It's not.
And I agree with you. If I were the GM of any team not in the New York Yankees, I would prefer to have Soto over Judge. But I think you've already invested so much into Judge that makes more sense for where you are.
I think that Soto's 9 years younger than Judge, so you are going to want to invest more in the younger
That's
guy.
a good point, too.
He's 23. Dude, he's this good. He hasn't even hit his fucking prime yet. We haven't seen what the best of Juan Soto is. That is so terrifying. This dude is going to be ridiculous. He could have a 550 on base percentage realistically at some point in his career. Who knows?
We're going to get to see him and Ronald Acuna Jr. and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for the next 20 years, and it's going to be great.
Baseball's blessed right now with the young talent.
Yeah.
You could throw Rafi Devers in that mix as well.
Yeah, actually,
he's another young stud.
You actually can. Yeah. He's taken that next step where he's one of the top 10 players in baseball right now.
I would certainly, as far as hitters go. I think if you're going overall players, it's close. I think he's close to number 10. I don't know if he's exactly 10.
His defense this season has been light years ahead of where he's been in the past. I mean, he does make some mistakes here and there. It happens. It is what it is. He had one today where he threw the ball to home and it was wide left by quite a bit. But, he's still learning. He's still young. He's still learning. But, yeah, I agree. I agree with that assessment that he's close to being a top 10 player in MLB. Before we, go too much further on this Soto thing, let's go back. Who on the current Red Sox roster do you see being the most lucrative selling chip?
I mean, I'm going to say that there's no way that they trade Devers, so I would say it's either Eovaldi or Bogarts. I think
zero.
I think
Bogarts. Really, you think Bogarts is a trade chip?
I mean, if they really don't think they're going to get him back, why wouldn't he be?
Sure.
Does he have no move?
What?
Does Xander have a no move?
I don't know. I don't know. I think Eovaldi, though, that if we're not sure with Xander, let's just say Eovaldi, because he's already considered a playoff ace with the way that he's pitched in the postseason. He's been hurt this year, but he's been pretty good when he's pitched. So I have to go with Eovaldi. I think they can get a team's number 2 prospect for him, or number 3 in a mid-tier organization.
I think somebody like JD Martinez would be a very valuable trade chip. He has had a down year as far as the power is concerned, but he's still proven that he's an on-base machine, and he can get those doubles and stuff like that. What worries me is, one, that the power's down, and two, he's seemingly coming up injured a lot more, especially earlier in the season.
Mid-30s,
But
what do you expect?
yeah. I mean, if I tried to do what he's doing right now, I would always be hurt too, because Father Time is that one that's undefeated unless your name is Tom Brady. But yeah, I think JD could net a pretty good prospect package in return to a potential contender who is just looking to add that big bat. And now that you have more wild cards, that's more teams that are available. Now that the DH is in the National League, that's more potential suitors for somebody like a JD Martinez. I think now is the time to move him.
Yeah, I would
100% agree. Yeah, JD for sure. Can I say, side tangent, Bloom mistakes? Man, they really should have kept Schwarber. They really should have kept Schwarber and moved on from JD. Like, it's, and everyone said,
I think part of that wasn't a Bloom mistake. It was the fact that JD opted in.
Yeah.
That had nothing to do with Heim.
He has value.
Yeah, well,
he never did not have value. He does not have a no move. You could have traded him. Like, I think, true. And like, this is not hindsight. This was first guess. I said all offseason, I think you should keep Schwarber and move JD. It's ruthless, but I think it's the right thing to do. And like, JD, it's like, he's still really good, but like, those power numbers are down, and it's like, it's kind of concerning. And like, you're probably not going to keep him in the offseason unless he takes a pretty hefty discount. Schwarber would have looked real nice on this team still, man. He really would.
Now, would you have moved Schwarber back to the outfield, or would you have tried to continue the first base experiment?
Well, I would have traded JD and put Schwarber as the DH.
DH, okay.
So yeah. I'm going to have to disagree with you there, Hogdale. And I think that you need Schreiber and JD for it to work. I don't think it works if you just keep one or the other. I think that the lineup still has a glaring hole in it. I think that you need both of them. I think that saying they should have got, after he opted in, they should have still signed Schwarber.
No, I'm saying, like, even if there was like a hole this year, in the next few years, you'd still have Schwarber, like, going forward. Because, like, I don't know, I see the signs of potential fall off for JD here coming within the next few years. Schwarber's at least, I think, 4 or 5 years younger. So, like, you have Schwarber for the foreseeable future. And, like, I don't know, Schwarber is a part of that hitting core going forward. God, that makes this team look so strong eventually, with Cassis coming up eventually and, more potential future offseason additions. So, like, I wasn't referring to, like, just in this year in general. I mean, like, in the grander scheme of the team, I think Schwarber would have been better.
I mean, it's tough to say, because you're also... Do you trade JD Martinez for peanuts? Or are you just you're signing Schwarber and you're just giving him away? Or are you trying to get value for JD in that trade? And it might just be, yeah.
Because JD had value, like, especially with the DH opening up on the National League end. There were definitely teams who needed a DH. And again, you could have held JD until the All-Star break, and then when he had value, moved him then.
I just don't know if JD is going to be as valuable for other teams as he is for the Red Sox. Because don't forget, he's still 1 year removed from that short season where he was really terrible. I'm not saying that that other teams are going to think that, like he's going to regress to that. But I don't know if the value that you get for JD Martinez is even worth trading it for a 30-something-year-old DH. I'm just not, because maybe for a contender. Maybe a contender takes him.
Like I'm telling you, you could probably find, especially in All-Star break, you could find one sucker of a team who thinks they can contend. Like, you could find one.
How much of that contract do you have to eat, though, for a team to take him on? I mean, it's what, $19 million for the. Oh, so you're saying for, like, if you make the trade now? I'm sorry, I was still on with Schwarber.
Okay, yeah. No, don't worry about it. Yeah. But yeah, like, I don't know. Like, dispelling that I'm Bluminati. Yeah, that's a mistake that I think. Yeah, I would have kept Schwarber.
I like Schwarber. I'm not gonna. If you told me that the biggest mistake that was made was not getting better first base depth than like Travis Shaw, I would have been very surprised. But that's been such a glaring hole.
We should have seen that coming. Really.
And I think, if we're going to be honest with ourselves, we all were kind of shocked that Shaw made it on the roster out of camp anyway. We were like,
Oh,
what?
yeah.
Wait, him?
Yeah.
He made
But
it?
he's not good.
He was not, and
So-
then he did not perform well. And I mean, I think some of it, I listened to this interview with Brian Abraham, the head of player development for the Red Sox prospects, in an interview with him recently, and it really does have this like view for these players and like the coaches that they're like this big family. And Shaw really came through the Red Sox system, so I'm sure that there was, as far as like the scouting development, not necessarily Bloom, but like the other guys were telling him that he, like they like this guy, he's a good character guy, he'll hit enough. Something that I've noticed with this iteration of the Red Sox, Bloom is very loyal to his players. In a way that I don't know if we're used to seeing with GMs in general. Him and Cora stick. Like, look at Bobby's still in the lineup,
They love
Danny
their guys.
Santana kept getting brought up. They stick with they commit to their guys, and I think that the fact that they did cut cord with Shaw after a few weeks kind of tells you how big of a problem it was.
Man.
So, anybody else that you can think of that would be a legit trade piece on this team?
Vasquez?
That's an interesting one because he's having a pretty good bounce back year, and this is the last year of his contract, right?
Yeah, and he doesn't
free
make
agent at the end of the year.
not a huge amount of money. He's hitting. He's got a reputation of being a good fielder.
Yeah, pretty decent arm for a catcher. I could see that being a legit piece. You got Connor Wong waiting in the wings. Obviously, he's ready to come up and at least assume some playing time.
He's at least ready to platoon, at least.
Yeah.
See what you have there, and then if it's, if you needed somebody else, you can maybe sign Vasquez back. You can sign a different free agent catcher and use Wong as your backup. If Wong doesn't do well, like in the starting job, you can see that working.
Best thing is every time Wong has come up, he's looked at least like he can hang. Like every time he's come, he's never looked lost.
He looks like he belongs. Yeah.
Like this dude can call a game. He hits good enough.
Yeah, he's a big leaguer.
You don't expect a lot out of a catcher these days. If they can call a good game and they can play pretty well behind the plate, you accept a mediocre bat from a catcher. That's the way baseball is these days.
Yeah,
if you break 10 homers a season, you make a shirt about it. You celebrate about it.
If you get an OPS above 700 with a catcher, you're ecstatic, like genuinely.
Yeah, for sure. So Vasquez could be an option. I could see him going and plugging in at any of these contenders and making a run. And he's a good one to have. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
God, I really don't want to see like a Xander and JD go at the trade deadline. It'd be so sad.
Yeah,
it'd make the rest of the year so fucking depressing.
It really would. I would not be a fan of that. Bogey has been my guy since he got called up, and that's one that I don't want to see ever play in another uniform. But I'm a baseball fan. So weird. I understand how baseball works, and there's a good chance of it. But hopefully the Red Sox do right and keep Xander and keep Rafi long term, and that's we can put a nail in that talking point.
No one will ever convince me that they're going to let Rafi walk. I mean, if you just think about it logically, there's literally zero reason to ever in any universe let him walk. Like he meets all the criteria of a guy who should be paid.
Yeah,
like all of it. There's not one negative.
Sure. Yeah. I think David Ortiz's comments the other day in his Hall of Fame press conference or whatever, where he was like, "Hey, we need to sign Xander and Rafi." I think that kind of helps stir the conversation a little bit more. Like, Ortiz is talking about it. That means, the brass need to be paying attention because it's David Ortiz. Come on. At
least unlike Mookie, like you hear Rafi come out and say like, I want to be a Red Sox for life, like consistently. Like he wants to be a Red Sox for life, but he just doesn't want to get shortchanged. So just give him a respectable offer. Like just don't dick around. Just fucking pay him what he's worth. It's not hard.
So we got a tweet from Chris Hatfield. Said listening to the Joe Doyle minor league and Fla Smitty interview with Romero, the new Red Sox draft pick, and he's boys with Marcelo Meyer, so they're friends. They hang out together or whatever. Confidently says he's a better pure hitter than Meyer. Says hands could go either way. That Meyer's a little bit faster, but their arms are similar.
Wow.
That's high praise. Holy shit.
And that's Hatfield saying this?
I believe that might be Romero saying that about himself.
Well, I like confidence.
Yeah, he's confidently says he's a better pure hitter than Meyer. So,
listen, like, I'm really confident with Heim in the draft. Over these last few drafts, like, it just seems like 3 or 4 like players come out. It's like, oh, this is a really good prospect we got right here, huh? Where the hell did this guy come from? Like, oh, Heim drafted him, of course. Duh, stupid. Like, dude's got a great eye for talent. So I mean, like, I trust whatever the hell he does. Like Nick York was viewed as like a gigantic reach and like one of the best prospects in our system. Like, I mean, like, he knows what he's doing, and like, I'm not going to pretend I know.
He got where he is for a reason.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend I know what good high school talent looks like. I'm just not, because I don't. I did no fucking clue.
You guys got anything else you want to add to this one before we sign off?
You know, we 43 and 40. We'll see. I feel like we've thought this team was dead in the water so many times since I've started doing this show, and then they go on one of those like weird hot streaks, and you know, we'll see what happens. I just can't imagine they don't win a single series against the AL East all year.
No shot. No fucking shot.
Like just statistically, how could that, like, even this is ridiculous. Like, just because you think a team will just accidentally play badly enough a few games, like it's baseball, enough weird shit happens.
Yeah. We've been the team that plays bad every other game.
Listen, at the end of last year, I thought this team stunk and wasn't going to do anything in the playoffs. So I would love them and welcome them to make me look like a complete and utter fucking jackass. You're all, please do. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, I love watching a good baseball team. That's the price of admission.
Well, and if you followed the Atlanta Braves last season, they were not world beaters. They got hot at the right time and rode it to a World Series championship. So,
dude, the Braves
maybe these Red Sox can do the same thing.
The Braves are going to make so many like mediocre competitive teams go for it stupidly in the future because of them having it actually pan out, which is nice.
That's what the sport of baseball needs, is more of these teams that aren't built to be juggernauts to push the chips all in and try.
Yeah, at least make an effort, because half the league just doesn't.
Right. Like, you don't want to see teams that are punting the season in April.
Yeah, seriously.
Honestly.
So,
looking at you fucking A losers.
The Seattle Mariners, they've just kept winning in spite of themselves, but you know.
Oh my god.
Orioles too, yeah, it's ridiculous.
All
right, guys, well, let's get out of here. We've been on here for over an hour talking about, you know, who knows what. So it's been a fun one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you like and comment and subscribe, and we'll be back after the All-Star break. Enjoy the Home Run Derby, everybody.
Go Sox, kid.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Pesky Report. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review.
Thank you for listening to this Belly Up Sports Podcast Network product. Some said we go belly up, so we made it our name, and we're still here.